So I wanted to make a video about a deck I recently made out of the Star City Games Gold Collection 1000 assorted Magic the Gathering cards. I just kind of bought this on a whim. I used to play Magic way back in the 90s, and actually I have two of my old decks from when I was a kid right here. Two old 90s decks that I played with, and maybe early 2000s, late 90s. And then I recently got this Star City Games 1000 assorted Magic cards. When I was a kid, to get any sort of Magic, set of Magic cards was just so expensive. So like after a humongous break from Magic, just looking at my old cards kind of re-sparked my interest, and I bought this Star City Games Gold Collection, and it's got the reviews on Amazon. If you want to see every single card that's in this pack, of course they're all assorted. I have a video on that. Check out my other video. But there's 1,000 cards, and so I went through them, and they're only $30. And there were not very many repeats. There was no basic lands, and there's a very good distribution between the colors and the different types of cards, even within each color. So I was very pleased with this. But then I was looking through the cards, and I was just reading some of them, and I had never ever really played black in Magic. I usually always played like green, red, white. I usually wasn't, I believe like back in the day, like black and blue were a lot harder to play because I felt like the cards were a little bit more unique. Anyhow, so I've always wanted to kind of build a black deck, so that's what I did. I made a all black deck, and it's totally destroying my deck from the late 90s. These aren't particularly strong decks, but my collection. This is my 90s deck. My collection wasn't that big, so for 30 bucks for 1,000 cards, I was like, yeah, I'm sold. So I bought it, and I built a black deck, which I'm about to show you, but I just played back and forth with my old decks and the black deck, and my black deck has totally been crushing this green and white deck that I had made from back then. And now I'm looking through this. This is just a very basic. I would probably consider a starter deck, but I mean, I spent way more than 30 bucks back then to have the smaller collection than even these 1,000 cards. So this is a green and red deck from late 90s and early 2000s, and I just wanted to show you the black deck I built. And as a comparison, you can see this doesn't even slide nice. These are so old and so well played. Kind of cool though. So I was very impressed. Now, like I said, this didn't come with any basic lands, and I pretty much had no basic lands from back in the 90s. So I actually had to buy a small 25 pack of basic lands to build this black deck. But so all in all, I mean, I'm probably going to title this video $30 killer, $30 1,000 card killer black deck, Magic the Gathering black deck. But it's all in. I'm all in for just this one deck with all these cards left over. I'm only into it for 33 bucks, which is kind of crazy. So here we go. Now I've sorted these out, so I'm going to go through this one slower. I sorted them by, so this is a 60 card deck. I have 20 basic swamp lands. So that's all back here. Let's see, there we go. That's all the land, there's 20 of them. And then let's do the creatures. Here we go, creatures. And one thing, I mean, this is probably how black is played. I don't have that much experience with black, but this is how black is always played. But I love the interaction with the graveyard. Look. Lifelink, haste. I really like how black interacts with the graveyard. So I think that's cool. When 4th bridge power enters a battlefield, you may have a target creature get -1/-1 until end of turn. And so this is crazy. You can put a 1 for a 1/1 out, put a -1/-1 counter on a creature that your opponent may have, and effectively put it in the graveyard. Another thing I would use this is some of these cards call for abilities to take cards from your graveyard and put them back into play or your hand. And sometimes this comes in handy because some of the abilities are dependent on having cards in your graveyard. So I may even use that to sacrifice a one-to-one a creature, so I can better play an ability. Each opponent loses 1 life, you gain 1 life. There you go. There's another one. 1 for 1/1, gain 1 life. Not bad. So these are all cards that are quick to play. Sacrifice, put a -1 there. So effectively, if some opponent has a 1/1 creature, you can effectively, or even a flying creature. Sacrifice this, put a -1/-1 on a flying 1/1 creature, and that pretty much takes care of that. For example, I mean, you take, if your opponent has played, if I can find it, yeah, if your opponent's played something like this, flying, how are you going to reach that? Well, sacrifice this. Problem solved. Alright, well, let's see what else we got. This one. It's a flash. Wanted Scoundrels. 2 for a 4/3. I mean, the opponent gets a colorless artifact, which they can get some more land. But I mean, two lands. That's kind of worth it. 2 for 1/2 flying. Death touch till end of turn. Regenerate. Drudge Skeletons. 2 for a 1/1, a little expensive. This one, Order of Midnight. Can't block, but 2 for a 2/2 that flies. And I like this ability: return target creature from your graveyard to your hand. You pay 2 and you can get that. So 3 for a 3/2, but once this dies, you get another 1/1 creature. So it's really, in my mind, it's kind of like a 3 for a 4/3, sort of. 3 when Lost Legion of Battlefield, Scray 2. Yeah, I love how black allows you to interact with your deck and your graveyard. And I think it at least been giving me the upper hand against my decks that I've been playing against. And when this dies, draw a card. When it comes into the battle, you get 2 life. And so basically you're paying 3 for a 2/2, but the it should be 2 for a 2/2, but the extra 1 mana gives you the abilities to gain life. So 1 extra mana gives you 2 life and a card. I mean, that's a good deal. So effectively, it's almost like not necessarily an instant, but it's like pay 1 mana for 2 life and draw a card. I would be willing to play that card. And not to mention I get a 2/2 creature along with it, all for a total of 3 mana. It's a great, I mean, this is an artifact. So it's colorless, but it's still pretty cool. Wake Dancer. Enters the battlefield. If a creature dies this turn, put a 2/2 black token into the battlefield. And so this is kind of cool too, because I've played this with other abilities such as this one. So I'll effectively play, pay 3 to put out a 2/2. Then if this guy is Okay, maybe not this one, but let's see here. Let me see. Right, something like this. I put this one out, and then I'll give a -1 to one of my creatures when I play this one, and it basically that 1/1 creature gets put in the graveyard. And so what happens is the 1/1 creature goes in the graveyard, and then I basically get 3 for a 2/2/2/2 creatures. So it's like 3 for 2 4/4s, but also I am losing a 1/1. So it's sort of a wash. This might not be bad. This one might not be that great of a card. I'll have to think about this one. Okay, so 4 for 3/3, but enters the battlefield. You may sacrifice another creature. If you do, put 2 1+1+ counters under City Scrammer and Scry 2. So this is really cool. I like this. This is 4 for a potentially 5/5, and generally I always have like some 1/1 hanging out in my field. So I'll basically pay 4 for a 5/5, sacrifice the 1, and get to look at the two cards on the top of my library. This one is 4 for 2/3. It's not that great, but like I said, interacting with the graveyard. Usually, if I have a 1/1 creature somewhere in the graveyard, I'm willing to exile that and then grab 2 life. So, and then I have another card that's in here. Yes, it's this one. Bloodbound Vampire. Whenever you gain life, put a +1/+1 counter on the Bloodbound Vampire. I've been able to, but this is a 4 for 3/3. But at the same time, I mean, based on all these interactions with life and sacrifice and all that, I've gained. I even have an artifact in here. Every upkeep I gain, like I've had this card, I think, up to like a 7/7, just by placing counters on it from every life I've gained. So this one is actually also pretty impressive. Here we go. Malfeld twins. Create. So basically, it's 6 for a 4/4, but when it dies, you get another 4/4 or 2/2/2. So it's effectively 6 for an 8/8. If that makes sense. So this one I think is totally worth it. And so these are all cards that came. All these cards came in this $30 pack. And I mean, look at all these cards that are left. I haven't even sorted through. These are the best, in my opinion, the best black cards. They're not all the black cards, but these are the best black cards that came with it because I built this all black deck. Now this one's pretty cool. 7 for a 7/7 flying as well as trample. It's expensive to play this one. But I've been able to put this one out because I have a card in here that allows me to search the deck and just put a card directly into play. And we'll get to that. This is nuts. I mean, if this guy's out in play and he's just dealing damage, the opponent it's expensive, but the opponent is gamed over because I mean, like it's trample. They're flying, so you're gonna have trouble blocking it. Even if you do block it, it's a 7/7. It's going to trample across whatever. Flying, there's a 7/7 with trample is nuts. And then if they deal damage to the opponent, they got to sacrifice a creature. That's, I mean, this is so powerful. I mean, it is expensive though. So like that's why I keep 20 lands in this deck. But usually, I'm able to keep myself alive enough with these smaller value cards that by the time one of these heavier duty ones come out, I have enough mana to play them, and then it's all right. Here, 1 for a put a 1/1 counter on a target creature. Target creature gains indestructibility. This is effectively like playing a 1 for a 1/1 because effectively that's your game. But then you do have this ability to get indestructibility. This is okay of a card. I didn't. This wasn't like one of my strong picks. Fungal infection. Target creature gets -1. And create a 1/1 green token. And so I've used this also to actually kill some of my own creatures to get them into the graveyard to play abilities of other cards. Which I don't think people usually think too much about killing their own cards or putting their own cards into the graveyard, but it works if you have abilities of other cards that will you can use the cards in your graveyard as a benefit. This has helped. I have used that in that way. Either way, it's a 1 for a 1/1 because then you get a 1/1 token. So it's 1/1, and so it's kind of like deal negative. You deal damage. But it's only till end of turn. But at the same time, you're effectively paying 1 for a 1/1 and having the ability. It's like a secret thing to, like, if someone's attacking, you can place it as an instant anytime. So place out a creature. So it's pretty cool. Here we go. Put the top 3 cards of your graveyard into your graveyard. Then you may return a creature from your graveyard to your hand. Now that is crazy. So you can basically get to go push 3 cards into the graveyard, and then hopefully one of those 3 creatures, pick which one you want, put it in your hand. So you kind of bypass 3 turns of drawing cards in search of a creature. That's been helpful. 2, target creature gains death touch, draw a card. So I don't care so much about the death touch. That comes in handy sometimes, but drawing a card, that's awesome. I don't like just the ability to get more basically reveal more cards, whether they're in your graveyard, especially if other cards give you the ability to interact with the graveyard, or just to take a card. It's great. It just gives you more options in the game. 3, deal 3 damage to target creature, and you gain 3 life. So you effectively 3 to take a creature off the board and give yourself 3 life. That one coupled really well with this card. Yeah, and so I like that. This destroy target creature 1, and you get to destroy 1 mana, and you're destroying a creature. I mean, like, imagine the opponent was playing something like, let's see here. Oh, whatever. Let's imagine the opponent was playing something like this one. I mean, 1 mana to destroy target creature. That's crazy. This guy should be difficult to take down. So I like that one. I like that card. Let's see. Now we're going to get into the... Oh no, I haven't done all these yet. So, let me do this one. Destroy target creature. There's another Professor's Warning. Corpse Churn. We already did that. And now we have a target creature reveals your hand, and basically you get to make opponent discard a card for 1 mana. Put any number of cards. Draw a card. 2 to draw a card. And you get to, this is nuts, you get to put any number of target creatures from your graveyard back into your library. So, hey, you've already been able, this is nuts. So you get to draw a card after you put, so basically you're taking a creature from your graveyard and putting it back in your hand. And so these are all creatures you've probably been able to pay for, or you have the mana to pay for, and you get to get a creature right back into your play, and the rest of them on the top of your deck. And so this is pretty good. I usually hold off on this until later in the game. So one, you have enough land that you're not dependent on it, and then 2, there's probably enough creatures that if you lost a creature that you really want back into play, something like that, you got the benefit of doing this. And usually you'll have like all enough mana to put all those creatures back into play. So that's pretty cool. As additional cost to cast a spell, sacrifice a creature, you gain life equal to sacrifice creature's toughness, destroy target creature and opponent controls. So this is kind of crazy. You get, if you need life and you've pumped up some of your creatures, I mean, you got to get rid of them, but you also destroy a target creature and opponent controls. And this is like, there's no limit to toughness or power. And so you can get rid of some like creatures that have just been a pain to you by using this card, or that you haven't been able to successfully, just get rid of. Return up to 2 target creature cards from your graveyard to your hand. This has been a great. Destroy target tapped creature. Also crazy. Target creature or planeswalker. Destroy. A lot of destroying creatures in this. You just you can just straight up. Oh, too bad. Up, too bad. Creature gone. You may choose a creature card in your graveyard. If you do, return it to the battlefield with an additional +1/+1. This one's nuts. It's expensive though, but it's pretty cool. Search your library for a card, put it into your hand, then shuffle. This it's kind of expensive, but what's cool about this is by the time you have the ability to play this card, you're able to get some pretty powerful cards out of your deck. So, you have 5 mana. I've pulled some strong cards out of my deck and put them into play because now I know I get to pay at least 5 mana. So this is a pretty good card. This is nothing too special. This is awesome. Every turn you get 1 life, and it just keeps adding up. And look at the cost, measly 1, and it keeps going. If you really want 3, sacrifice it, draw a card. Equip the creature gets +3s, +0. This is not super great of a card, but it's not bad. Especially for this equip cost, I'm not too thrilled about that. I might have to replace this with something. This is cool. Put this on really powerful creature. Now they're flying. Good luck trying to attack them. 3 for a 3/2. Pretty good.